now. Hi, we're back. It's video game time. Armored Core 3. And we're going to talk about YouTube poops. Because I asked, hey, what are we going to talk about? And Tommy said YouTube poops. YouTube poops. Go.
I did say that.
You did say that.
So I was just like randomly, I'm like, that's something that just like is like super important to my middle school lifestyle. Like the first videos, I think like I started delving into were YouTube poops of like, it's like Sonic says Jews or something like that, so stupid shit like that. I think there was one channel that was like a bunch of low quality edits, and their intro was always just like unedited Beatles music, which, I guaranteed those videos are still around.
Probably.
Yeah. Oh, well, shit. Can we get the MC8 for saying just Beatles music? I feel like that's one of those like no words.
I don't think so. If we talk about like if we get really good at singing and then start singing Beatles music, then yeah, 100% we can get copyrighted for it.
Yeah, let's not do that on the first episode of the day.
Well, I don't think any of us are good enough at singing for that.
No.
I don't think we're at risk of anything on that regard.
It's like we just start going nah nah nah. Yeah,
I was going to say that my formative YouTube poops. Jesus Christ. My formative memories of YouTube poops has to be specifically the Sky Had a Ouija. You remember that one?
I don't. I mean, it's one of those things where it's always like a word salad of, Ouija dinner spaghetti, of, Dr. Rabbit, shit like that. So,
yeah, but those were the fucking best. My favorite YouTube poops are always the ones that had dinner or spaghetti. It was the fucking
spaghetti.
Nintendo CDI games.
Yeah, like it was always the low quality Quebec gamers rip of it too, because like, just being able to get, downloadable cutscene, to download the MP4 of video game cutscenes was still, a crazy thing for that day. So these things were like artifacted to shit in like 144p, and we fucking loved it.
And we were grateful.
Yeah.
One. If we're gonna talk YouTube poops, we have to talk Flipnote Hatna, which was just YouTube poop re-upload central, but it was God's work.
Flipnote who now?
Hatna. Do you remember the DSi?
Hat and Stick?
God, if only.
I do remember the DSi. Like, was Flipnote the one that got banned after some guy molested a kid using it or something? Or was that SwapNote? No. I think that was SwapNote.
That had to be the other one you're thinking of. No, Flipnote was the little stop-motion animation software that...
Oh, shit! It's all coming back now! Oh,
there shit! There it is!
Yes! There's the one with, like, the fucking the anime sound effects. There's, like, the stick figure where, like,
yes.
There was, like, one good animation on the site, so the fact that, the fact you were able to download it, like, someone would replace it with fucking Benny Hill music and replace the stick figure's head with Ouija, and it's, like... That was like the second most popular video on the platform.
It was the fucking apex of comedy, and to an extent, it still is. I'm fairly certain there's a hidden part on this fucking mission, but I'm too lazy to look for it right now.
So what are the giant Evangelion blades sticking out of the ground?
Set dressing.
Ah, okay.
The mission doesn't say anything about them. It just says, hey, you're going to this place. You're gonna fuck these guys up. Just shoot them.
Just with these giant metal structures that dwarf you, despite the fact you are literally in a mech.
And underground.
Yeah.
Are we underground right now?
Yes. Wait, this is underground? Wow. Okay, that's
Armored Core 3, basically being a reboot of the first Armored Core, is like there was a big ass war, and it fucked everything up so badly that now we all live underground. And mega corporations run the show, and capitalism never went away, and you are part of the misery machine being a mercenary, but you're also not exempt from the misery it causes.
Ooh.
True.
This is also one of the few missions where you can actually resupply mid-mission.
Do we lag out?
No, it just takes its sweet time.
Okay, that's certainly a fucking source engine load screen of a refill. But yeah, like early that was like probably like my earliest formative memories of YouTube. This is like 2006.
Oh god, you've got me beat then. My
Yeah,
I
it
feel
was
like,
oh six or
like-
07.
yeah,
for me,
that
it had
sounds
to have been like,
about right. Like, I remember I started watching YouTube in 2006, I think, is when I first made an account. And I was so confused because there was so many weird things on there. But I think my favorite and also most terrifying experience I had when it comes to YouTube poops was the very early Shrek ones.
Were those the ones that were like really popular? Oh, hey, I found this guy had a Ouija from 13 years ago.
Like, it was the ones where it was like Shrek and the TF2 characters and just a whole lot of weird. Actually, those might have been more recent. When did TF2 come out?
2007.
Okay,
Oh
maybe
yeah,
I.
that's like a that's like its own separate um like massive pile of like crossover because like TF2 was just like a magnet for just like different fandoms like that. Like for so many of the Gmod things, and then you know, you get later where all those people eventually became either bronies and or furries.
Yeah. I feel like Valve was probably one of the reasons why there's so much YouTube poop
Yeah, there
unintentionally.
is just this weird little like art form of really nonsensical shit of poorly, you know, poorly animated TF2 ragdolls over like Banjo Kazooie music. Like exactly.
I feel
Um
like I know which ones you're talking about, but I can't put my finger on it.
Wait, who was the one who did the Machinima gamer poop stuff? Who was that?
Oh jeez,
Are we talking like
I
red versus
know who
blue?
you're talking about.
No, the other stuff. Um,
Um
it was like something Slayer, something. I don't remember.
I do not know.
Is it Demon? What
I
is?
don't think it was Demon Slayer, but there was like a Slayer in there, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer. What was the problem? Now that there's a show called Demon Slayer, if you try to search up Demon Slayer, you're just gonna get this shit. Which is fine, because the show's actually really good.
Oh yeah,
But
speaking of anime, the other classic of oh man, Deeper Cut, that's a name I haven't heard. I'm like going through the related videos and it's like I have heard this channel like but it has not entered my mind space in over a decade. But
Manslayer, that's what it was. It was the Manslayer guy, the one who did all the gamer poops of like Skyrim and Mass Effect 3, and apparently he's done recent ones of lots of other games. Dang, interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, like all the originals that he made were like, he made I think he was the one who made the Jarl Ballin, the Jarl Ballin video and stuff like that.
I
And I
Could
think
not
he's
tell
also
you.
the one who made the My Brand.
My
oh okay, that one is coming back.
The one with fucking Commander Shepard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's the one who started all of the, at least in particular with the BioWare and with the Bethesda games. I think he was
Mega G Films. Like that's who did My Brand.
Oh, never mind. Then it's a different person who did that. But he's been doing he did gamer poop of The Wolf Among Us and just tons of games.
The Wolf what?
It was it was
Say it, Ark.
kinda
Say
like-
the title. Say
Yeah,
the title.
what was the title?
What?
What was the full title?
The Wolf Amongst
Uh,
Us. The Wolf Amongst Us.
Wow.
A game that I think was
You know, keeping the
made
soundboard
by-
might have been a mistake.
I'm gonna add that to the soundboard.
It was made by Telltale Games. It was one of their Telltale games. It was like one of their
Right.
earlier ones. Or not early. I don't know how early this was in consideration of all the games they made. They made so much shit. But yeah, it was one of the, I think, first two videos, or I don't know. God, he's been doing this for a long ass time.
I mean, all the stuff we're talking about is older than some people watching this, which is horrifying.
His first one was 14 years ago.
Ooh,
Damn.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't like thinking about the passage of time.
I mean, it's one of those things where like if you ever watch like stuff that was like your thing like very early on, it's like no, it's actually awful. Like all of it's bad, but it was good for the time, and that's what matters.
Okay, apparently he started with Fallout 3 in New Vegas for most of his early stuff, but he got rid of a lot of them because they were on Machinima originally. So like he was making stuff in 2006 and all that. Or maybe earlier. I don't know exactly when he started, but I think it was before like 2008.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell you too much about that just because like I'm trying to look through my old YouTube stuff, but the I kind of like reset my channel. It seems like 12 years ago. Like so I don't have any of my old videos or like what my old subscription box looked like or anything or like favorites.
Wikipedia article for this person?
Oh, yeah, that was actually one thing that I was looking into that's really cool. So, slightly related, we were talking about that one mech shop in Chinatown. I did go there the other day to get a gift for my friend. But of course, I got myself some real grade model that is sitting next to my desk and will be absorbing a majority of tomorrow, at the very least. But there's the right next to it is the bridge that goes to the Hyatt from Portsmouth Square. And it turns out there's a 30-minute documentary on that bridge's contribution to street skating. And I watched it. It is an amazing rabbit hole to go down because you'll have these guys being like, they're like in their 40s at this point, and they're like, oh yeah, Hunter over here. I remember when Hunter hit the first tail slide to fakie over the large bench, and like people talk about like it's like literal urban legend.
Nice.
It's like that concept is just absolutely fascinating to me.
I have been listening to this leftist engineering podcast called Well, There's Your Problem, and they have, it's one of those podcasts where like, okay, if the episode is really long, it means it's really fucking good, and the host is probably going to lose their fucking mind at some point. And I started listening to the first of a 3-part series about this railroad from the 60s that I already knew about and like had knowledge on the history of, but obviously not every intimate detail, called Penn Central. And the really short version is, so there were these railroads called the Pennsylvania Railroad, the New York Central Railroad, and the New Haven Railroad, and they all got merged into this really big railroad called Penn Central, and then it went bankrupt 8 months later.
Oh.
And it was the largest bankruptcy in all of American history until the Enron bankruptcy in 2001. Excuse me.
Watch yourself. This is no ordinary AC.
That's something that like I feel like I wouldn't understand like the Enron collapse, because I keep hearing about it, and people mention about how absolutely nuts that shit was like for its time, and I'm like, I was 6. I remember hearing the word Enron a whole bunch. I had no idea what it meant.
I would definitely say I'm in the same boat there. I heard a lot of things and I was just like, what the fuck is this about?
I had like heard the name, I think, but oh well, I'm out of fucking.
Max, you were 4.
Well, I'd probably heard the name after the fact when I grew up, and then I was like, oh,
I think I kept on mixing up with Exxon.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I looked them up. They were, the huge fucking scandal. I don't remember all the details. But Penn Central's whole deal was basically, okay, I'm not fighting this asshole.
No.
I mean, the mission. I got fucked up.
Oh,
You're supposed to
wait.
get the fuck out of this place, anyways, because this guy can kick your ass. But whatever.
Is that the first L of the playthrough?
First L of the playthrough, not
Damn.
the last. Oh, and I get the one where it's like, oh, you're fired, by the way. There are certain missions where if you fail it, instead of just being booted back to the menu screen like, okay, well, you failed, just go on. This is the one where it's like, okay, this is one where you weren't supposed to die, so,
So not only are you dead, you're fired.
yeah.
Welcome to unemployment and death.
Yep. Just imagine, like, a fucking representative from Global Cortex just standing over the smoldering wreck of my AC and just handing him a pink slip.
God, that sounds like something. Max, what's that? The ship deconstructing game you play. The one about capitalism.
Hardspace Shipbreaker. That's a really good one.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, the
fuck.
one with really good music and good theming.
It's like it's basically what if Union but in space, and labor relations but in space, and my fucking ass didn't save before doing that mission, and it booted me back to the last save I had, which is okay because it was only like 1 or 2 fucking missions and an arena fight, so I didn't lose all that much progress. But that's why they tell you to save after every goddamn mission you do in Armored Core.
Yeah.
Just in case you lose your job.
Of course.
But yeah, Hardspace Shipbreaker, that's a really good one. All the soundtrack is kind of like old Americana Appalachian music. And it's like, oh yeah, the company that you work for owns your DNA, so they can clone you if you die.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you start out with like a 1 billion something debt.
Yeah, like $1 or $2 billion or something. And it's like, you gotta pay off this debt before you start actually getting paid.
Also,
Animal
if you
Crossing.
die, that it deducts from your paycheck, and you're brought back to life to work again.
Yeah. It's very on the nose.
Wow.
It's like you can't escape this job even with death. Also, you're charged for both your oxygen and your repairs.
Yep.
It reminds you of the fucking Bill Mr. Krabs gives Squidward. Breathing, dying, shooting. Like, yes, I know we pay you to shoot stuff, but you gotta pay, someone's gotta pay for that, for those bullets, and it's not me.
I mean, that's Armored Core, baby. But yeah, Penn Central. They're notable for being not just the largest bankruptcy, but also more or less taking the entire American railroad industry with it.
Oof.
Why is Amtrak a disaster on its worst times? You can blame Penn Central. Or more specifically, Congress.
So, more like America lost faith in the railroad industry and that never recovered.
Well, it's sort of that. Penn Central goes under, and I need to buy new boosters. Well, the ones I had. So Penn Central goes under, and this is happening when like every other railroad in America is going under at the same time. You got to remember, these were private companies. There was no Amtrak until like 1971. So Penn Central goes under, and everyone's kind of freaking the fuck out, including Congress, who are like, oh, Jesus, God in heaven, we should probably do something about this. And they actually draft a bill or something, I think, to just straight up nationalize all the railroads in America, but then don't follow through with it. Because I think, don't take my word for this, that the surviving railroads or like this trade group or whoever was like, no, don't nationalize us, because then we can't make profit and profit good. It's some shit. Instead, do something else. And that something else was create Amtrak and relieve all these railroads of their obligations to provide passenger service. Because these bastards are running freight and people. And they nationalized Penn Central and created Conrail. And
Which also failed.
huh?
Which also failed.
Well, it didn't fail, actually. Conrail started being quote-unquote profitable because clearly that's what a public service needs to be in this wretched country of ours. And in, like, the 90s, they decided, well, we'll just denationalize Conrail and let it be a private company, which is what happened. And then it got bought up by Norfolk Southern, the latest defense contractor in America, and CSX, who undeniably exists. Amtrak still exists as like this weird, like, public-private hybrid nightmare system that doesn't own its own infrastructure, except in the Northeast Corridor. I'll never give Amtrak all that much shit, though, because as far as I'm concerned, they're doing God's work. And also emblematic of, even when you try to kill passenger rail in America, which more or less what the government tried doing when they made Amtrak, you can't kill it.
Yeah, they set that up. They set that thing up to fail.
Yeah, basically the Nixon administration, because of course it was Richard fucking Nixon, was like, oh, well, Richard Nixon, and we'll make Amtrak so that, you know, he can have, like, some political clout and give passenger rail in America the send-off it deserves, so that we can move to the fancy new thing of cars and planes, and there won't be any problems with all of that.
In
increasingly
50 or
short
60
Did you ride
years.
BART when it came out, though?
Ugh. Clearly
Like, you're
not.
gonna shit talk Amtrak, but then ride BART. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Did you say BART or, like, cars?
BART.
Oh, yeah. Well, he didn't really
Because-
shit-talk Amtrak so much as he, like, signed off on it and then pretended it didn't exist, and then he rode BART and was like, it's just like NASA. It's an example for the nation.
Which, honestly, at the time, it was very advanced.
At the time, it was an example for the whole goddamn world. Especially
I'd have to see this. What was it? I think there's some sci-fi movies that are filmed in the under construction Powell Street Station because they look that futuristic.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah,
you know,
it
it
was
had
wild.
its federal money for like 20 years, and then the federal money stopped because it was 20 years later. At least, I think.
Yeah,
don't
things
quote
got
me on
bad.
this. Well, no, and then
things
30
got-
years of deferred maintenance later, and replacing the rolling stock way later than they honestly should have. But also, credit to the mad bastards who built the original BART fleet. Fuck. Those bitches lasted 50 years.
You mean our last...
Wait, so like the ones that are still used today, like for some parts, are those like the originals?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck. I
They
didn't
were-
know
Those
that.
things are literally from the first fleet of ones that they made. Like, there are some that were probably updated or, like, fixed up.
Well,
so
most,
they've been...
if not all of them, were refurbished by this French rolling stock manufacturer, Alstom, because all the American rolling stock manufacturers went out of business or stopped making trains because we got car pilled. More on that later. This motherfucker needs to stop moving so much. So every time America wants new trains, we basically have to go to the Europeans and say, hey, give us trains, and they say, okay, and then sell us trains. And that's what BART's been doing. They've been getting their new fleet from... Originally, it was from this Canadian-German manufacturer called Bombardier, but then they got bought out by Alstom. Siemens Mobility has been providing Muni with the new... Also, yes, they're called Siemens. Very funny. Hee hee hee. Funny common word.
Dang Germans.
The fucking Germans, man. Fucking... Yeah, Siemens has been building the new light rail trains for Muni, the S200 model. They're also building the new locomotives for Amtrak, the Charger, and there's like a billion variants of the Charger because, well, they're selling it to basically anyone in North America who wants one. So Amtrak's got like 2 variants in service right now. There's a proposed third one That's gonna go into service once Amtrak starts putting in the new Aero fleet.
Did you save, by the way?
Huh?
Did you save, by the way?
I did save, by the way.
Oh, good.
I did. So if I get my ass handed to me, it's okay. This is the part where most people will tell you to just save scum with an emulator, but I said I'm not going to do that in this playthrough. So we might be seeing that "you're fired" and dead screen a lot.
You're just in time, Raven. We need all the help we can get.
But yeah, so Siemens has been providing Amtrak with most of their new fleet, passenger cars and locomotives, all that fun shit. The one thing they have not been providing Amtrak is the new Acela, which is technically, by pure definition, high-speed rail, but also only in the Northeast Corridor. So our sorry asses, not being in the Northeast, don't get it. That one is being built by Alstom, and the Avelia Liberty, as it's called, is a modified version of a new TGV train set that hasn't even entered service yet. Which is kind of funny that we get it before they do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's neat. But yeah, there's a little bit of stuff about trains. But yeah, again, fucking Amtrak was basically built to fail because they're like, oh, well, it will build it so that, like, hopefully it can be profitable in 5 years, and it proceeded to not be profitable because they didn't even have any of their own equipment when they started. They basically inherited.
I mean, it's still one of those things of where, you know, if you do want to take Amtrak, it's like, oh, well, you want to take a train? Well, it's only like a 2-hour bus ride to get to the station, then you gotta wait for an hour for the slowest fucking train in history, and then it's like, you know, another 2-hour bus at the other side. It's like, at that point you could have just taken an airplane.
Well, here's the thing about Amtrak. So, I actually fucking kicked that guy's ass. Let's go.
Nice.
Amtrak, when all cylinders are firing properly and everything's working, is actually pretty good. That's the problem. It requires everything to be going right, and when they don't own their own infrastructure, you know, the rails, it's hard for things to go right. And when they're chronically broke, it's hard for things to go right. And when the government continues to think, yes, we need to put money into something. I know, just one more lane, bro. It's hard for things to go right. But here's the thing. People want Amtrak. They want the fucking trains. I want the fucking trains, man.
It's cheap, efficient, and it doesn't destroy the environment.
Yeah. Like, shit. Even diesel locomotives are more sustainable than fucking highways. It's just trains good. That's not to say that, like, motor vehicles and cars and shit don't have a specific purpose. In, like, commercial instances, they're fine. Like, you know, emergency services or, you know, those little LCV vans. But fucking whoever, the bastards who said that, oh, the car is freedom, were unbelievably full of shit, grifted America, and I have been coping for basically ever. Even
also, American cars are huge in comparison to the rest of the world's cars.
I feel like that's been a topic that's been brought up a lot more as of recent.
Well, yeah,
like,
there's been.
I think I even saw a news story about how farmers, like actual though, are importing Japanese pickup trucks.
Yeah, because they have as much bed space as anything else, but are much smaller, cheaper, and don't make you look like a douchebag cosplaying as a blue-collar worker. I'm gonna do an arena.
They're also normally just more efficient fuel-wise.
Yeah.
They're not going for aesthetics and being the biggest tank around. They're normally just trying to serve a purpose.
Yeah, they're built for a function.
Which, like, capitalism doesn't help with all that, but at least we're not paying for heated seats.
Fucking BMW. I gotta.
Oh right, that's
the joke about BMW.
I still appreciate that people jailbroke their car.
You know,
I mean, it feels weird, like the fact that we're pirating features for our cars now.
God. It's really stupid.
You wouldn't download a car.
Well, now we would.
Now we do.
Yeah, car manufacturers out here making a fucking argument for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to use this time in the arena before ending the episode to say that there actually has been a renaissance of rail transportation in America, because it only took us 70 years, but we're finally saying, wait a minute, cars kind of suck, bro, and just one more lane, bro, isn't going to cut it. I don't want to piss away money on cars and have to own one in order to live. Also, honestly, while yes, we could go on all day about the objective reality of trains just being the single most efficient form of transportation on Earth, they're also just really cool.
Trains also aren't as detrimental to an environment in terms of like existing ecosystems around them. You can much more sustainably have a train in an environment with like a forest or something,
Yeah,
in
and
comparison to a highway, which would literally just destroy that forest.
You roll through the forest and you get some of the most beautiful sights of the countryside, and you're sitting in a chair, and honestly, but this is my closing statement for this episode. Amtrak coach class is better than any business class on any airline I've ever been on. Good night, America. See you next time.